Hoping I get time tomorrow to upload them, but we'll see. We shall see. CBBBBBC. CBBs. Do 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 do. Don't know why I've got this song in my head. Ba da ba 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 da ba ba bum.
Holmes, for heaven's sake, whatever's going on?
Oh, hello, Watson. You're early. Did you kill all of your patients?
What? Holmes, where have all these wretched bees come from?
I increased the temperature of the room so as to prevent them from hibernating. I needed to take a sample of honey. But it worked, Watson. We will have honey all year round.
Ridiculous and dangerous.
They're domestic bees, Apis mellifera, such industrious workers. Anyway, Watson, I am sorry, but I must leave you. I'm in rather a hurry.
You have a new case?
Yes, but nothing as thrilling as this experiment. A theft of plants at the Royal Botanic Gardens in Kew. I'm helping a minister who's an old friend of mine. You can join me if you like.
Well, I'll admit that I'd far rather accompany you than remain alone here with these workers of yours. Besides, you'll need a helping hand with the flowers you're intending to bring back.
Watson, however did you guess?
For the great Sherlock Holmes to bother with the theft of plants. Come on, admit that you're planning to spoil your little bees with some rare pollens.
Since when did I become so transparent? Let us go.
Let us go.
Oh dear, Toby. I wasn't aware that you were Watson's new literary agent.
Oh, we got some letters. What does this one say? I am writing to inform you that the affair at the Abbey Grange, which took place almost half a year ago now, still resonates deeply in high society and remains a subject of much gossip. This case's romantic background has attracted many suitors who show willing to shelter and take pity on Lady Brackenstall. But to this day, she still serves her sentence as her maid Teresa and has rejected all offers of help. To be truthful, I suspect that the true motivation of these suitors may well be related to Sir Eustace's title and money. What do you think, Mr. Holmes? Spectacular start. Alright. Let's go to the garden. There won't be any deductions. Not sure why it's available. There are no clues available. Ah, what a surprise. There we go.
Well, Holmes, here we are at the Royal Botanic Gardens. There's no doubt that this place is beautiful. But are you really intent on investigating the theft of the plants?
Yes, of course.
Yes, of course.
Don't touch anything else, is that clear? Just go and get a bucket of fertilizer. and without turning it over this time. Good day to you, gentlemen. How may I help you? If you are here for a visit, please do come back on Sunday.
I am afraid that it cannot wait. My name is Sherlock Holmes, and this is my friend and colleague, Dr. Watson. We are investigating the theft of plants that took place here 5 days ago. A remarkable collection, I believe.
So you're the one in charge, eh?
A small favour for a friend. Now, to whom do I have the pleasure of speaking?
I am Martin Hamish. I am the Deputy Director of Kew Gardens, and that fellow yonder is Albert. He works here.
I am delighted to meet you. What can you tell us about the plants?
They were rare and exceptional plants. We presented them at our last exhibition. We haven't removed the stand yet. It is still in the large glass house. We only learned of their disappearance the evening after the exhibition, and nobody saw anything.
No doors were forced?
No, but I would imagine that for a thief it would be fairly easy to gain entry, for there are no guards here.
Well, if you don't mind, we will take a look. Now, you say that it is in the large glass house.
Yes, the one just behind me. Just a second, since Albert has nothing else to do. Albert, show these gentlemen where the exhibition was held.
How many people work here?
Only myself, but occasionally 2 students, Albert, whom you have met, and Miss White.
Miss White. Up! Cluedo. Sorry. It's a very apt name.
Here it is. This is the place where the stolen plants were exhibited.
Thank you. Is there something the matter?
Yes, there is. All right, the plants were valuable and rare, but it seems to me that the tragedy that took place here only 2 days ago has been entirely forgotten already.
What tragedy are you referring to?
The director of Kew Gardens, Mr. Montague Dunn, he died here just 2 days ago.
We're very sorry. We were not aware. The 2 of you were good friends?
He was my father.
Oh dear. Our condolences. We should not be troubling you. Please do excuse us for the intrusion.
You say that he died here, in the large glass house.
Holmes?
Yes, just here, near the door to the colonial collection. He suffered a heart attack, just like that, so suddenly. It was terrible. Excuse me, gentlemen, but I cannot remain here. If you need me, I'll be in the reserve. That's the room next to the front of the large greenhouse.
Of course, we understand.
Holmes wants to start investigating.
What should we do next, Holmes?
I'm going to have a poke around, Watson.
Here is a list of the stolen plants.
Do not touch.
Well, looks like somebody ignored that rule.
The plants were here. All of them were stolen. According to Albert, this is where his father, Montague Dunn, was found dead.
Huh.
The traces are thinner in some places. These boot marks are fresh. It appears as though someone was dragging their feet. The footprints reveal that someone staggered here. The door was smashed at shoulder height. This door handle is new. It was recently changed. The escutcheon was breached near the handle. The door was forced from the inside of the Colonial Collection Room. The handle was changed afterwards.
I think we need to inspect the colonial collection.
Oh, hello. And what might you be?
Soil. It should have come from a flower pot. The soil on the side of this flower shelf is the same as that on the ground. Fragments of a flower pot. It fell down here. This pot was broken fairly recently. A flower pot recently fell down from these shelves and was misplaced. This sign is broken. Something heavy was dropped upon it.
Like a dead body?
Blood. Someone fell violently against this sign, and they were injured in the clash. Most likely a head wound. All the clues around here are quite suspicious. I need my imagination to make sense of it all. Very strange. Half of the colonial collection is absent.
Breaking the door, knocking over the pot, falling on the fence. Yeah.
This reconstruction reveals a disturbing fact. Montague Dunn damaged the door of the colonial collection room.
He was in a panic, or the door was locked. Was it an accident, or a murder then, I wonder? I think we need to inspect the colonial collection room.
Yes. I believe we do. Especially given that Holmes,
These plants come from all the territories of the British Empire. The smell is strong. It is a detergent.
Hello, stone chip.
This broken fragment was the result of a heavy blow. A fragment of marble, most likely chipped from a statue or sculpture.
This isn't just ordinary plants.
These windows were perfectly cleaned. Part of this greenhouse was emptied and thoroughly cleaned. This is one of the outlets of the ventilation system.
All right. Perform an autopsy on Montague Dunn. The death is suspicious. Why had he forced the door of the cloning collection room? Why had someone cleaned and emptied the room? Was it a trap or a simple accident? Oh, we get to perform autopsies. Scotland Yard! It's the place to do autopsies. Hi-oh! It's Scotland Yard! I should probably check in with Lestrade.
I asked Inspector Lestrade to take Montague Dunn's body to Scotland Yard.
It's ready for autopsy then.
Alright. Is it gonna make me cut up the body? Oh, I nearly walked into a post.
Mr. Holmes?
Mr. Holmes. Oh, that's the evidence room. Don't need that. Oh, hello. Actually, let's have a look at his belongings.
This watch is of great value. A membership card for the London Crest Club. A beautiful feather pen of a good make.
To Mr. F. Wayne, Director of Wayne and Sons Printing Company. My friend, your posters at the Great Exposition Kew Gardens are very beautiful, but it is surely unnecessary to mention all of my staff. My name alone will be sufficient. Ooh. Wow.
First of all, let us carry out an external examination. There are no suspicious marks upon the chest. Let us finish our external examination so that we can proceed with the autopsy. No redness, stings, or bruises. Nothing suspicious here. There is an injury to the skull, most probably caused by the fall in the water lily greenhouse. The vessels and the pupil of the eye appear quite normal. The air from the lungs carries a faint floral aroma. Now, let us examine the internal organs.
Ah, here we go.
The lungs are congested and edematous.
What the hell's that?
The tissue on the inferior lobe of the right lung is damaged, most probably caused by toxins from an unknown plant. The heart's blood vessels show no pathological signs. The heart tissue shows no visible pathological signs.
So he didn't die of a heart attack then.
The liver is enlarged. It would seem that he was suffering from an alcohol addiction. The liver tissue is brown. There are no visible pathological signs. The stomach tissues show no visible pathological signs.
Lovely.
There is a small amount of content. It appears that he breakfasted lightly, only a short while before his death. My suspicions have been substantiated. Montague Dunn, the director of Kew Gardens, died from poisoning. Plant poisoning, to be more exact.
You mean
Yes, it is murder.
we should inform Lestrade?
Yes, but do remember, Watson, that I discovered the murder. The challenge is mine.
The challenge, Holmes?
We need to locate that deadly plant. Such a perfect murder appeals to me.
Murder of any kind appeals to you. Is that all we need to do?
No. We also have the people working at Kew Gardens. Martin Hamish and the son of the victim, Albert Dunn.
And also Miss White, of whom we spoke with Mr. Hamish. Should we bring them all here for interrogation?
No. A few innocuous questions at Kew will suffice, as well as a discreet delve into their personal affairs.
Oh.
Yes, Watson. It is time now to open the doors.
Even those in the staff building? I suppose that is necessary.
We should also be concerned with the victim himself. After all, we don't know very much about Montague Dunn.
You're enjoying this already, aren't you?
More than a little.
Alright. After being trapped in the Colonial Collection room by the killer, Montague Dunn was affected by inhaling a virulent vegetal poison. Yep. Alright. Should probably go and talk to Lestrade, actually. Just to let him know.
Locked.
Ah, no need. Alright. Back to Kew Gardens. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. Alright. Alright, Hamish.
Mr. Hamish, can you explain to us what happened to the Colonial Collection? It seems somewhat depleted.
But, most likely maintenance work, tidying up.
You're not sure, then? But you're the deputy director.
Well, I am busy. I cannot be everywhere at once.
Suspicious.
Albert told us about the tragic death of Mr. Dunn, the late director of Kew Gardens.
Tragic indeed. His heart attack was quite unexpected.
As deputy director, how was your relationship with Montague Dunn?
To be honest with you, Mr. Holmes, it could have been better. You see, every Tuesday he would carry out his inspection of the gardens, but it was solely to make an impression, great pretense that he cared at all. He would give out absurd orders, ignoring anyone else's opinion. He would then disappear for the rest of the week. He was what some might call a man of action. I'd say rather he was overzealous and chaotic. So after all, it was no wonder, perhaps, that he ended up like that, if you take into consideration his kind of lifestyle.
What do you mean?
You mentioned that Mr. Dunn led a particular lifestyle.
Well, it's no secret that he enjoyed, celebrating, shall we say. He was a member of the London Smart Set. He was famous for it. That
And
he had an eye for the ladies, to put it mildly, Mr. Holmes.
Oh.
tell me, Mr. Hamish, do you grow the more deadly variety of plant here?
You mean insectivorous? Yes, but nothing larger than that.
Ah.
Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation.
Alright, let's start opening doors. Oh, there's a map.
Nursery. Colonial Collection. Water Lily Greenhouse. Dry Tropics. Seed House. Ventilation System. Palm House. Director's Office, Cloakroom and Laboratory. Reserve.
Anything else, or is that it?
A map of Kew Gardens. Locked.
Well, that's frustrating. I want in.
Locked.
Okay.
What should we do next, Holmes?
Try and break into these things, Watson.
Locked.
Is anything open? Everything should be open to me. Aha. Okay, let's have a look at what's in here.
Locked.
Nope, so can't get into the nursery at all. Seed house.
Locked.
Nope.
Seed house.
Yeah, there's the seed house.
There is a smell of burning.
Now, who would be burning something? Hello?
The symbol is not from Kew Gardens.
We'll have that.
A protective mask.
What else am I looking at? Ah, it seems.
Someone set it alight,
Yeah.
but it did not burn. A door handle? Why would anyone throw such a thing in the fire? The door handle to the Colonial Collection and that of the fireplace are made of the same material. The remains of a picture frame. A broom handle was half burned.
Why would anyone set fire to all of this? What are they trying to hide?
The plants were set alight fairly recently. Some have not completely burned.
Well, hello, since I'm here.
A ventilation system. It should regulate the temperature of the staff buildings. A water tank.
Alright, I can get into this one here. Yeah, I can. Yeah, must keep things very dry.
These flower pots are beautiful. They are intended to be used for exhibition purposes. The symbol is not from Kew Gardens.
Why are these different symbols popping up?
According to this, they have light and moisture control in some parts of the building.
Search archives, search archives, search archives. Kew Garden staff buildings. I can't get into staff buildings.
These trees, with their roots in water, must originate from Louisiana. According to this, they have light and moisture control in some parts of the building. Locked.
Everything is locked. This way, no, that's locked. Alright, let's go see if we can get keys. Keys, yeah.
Mr. Hamish, can you tell us who holds the keys to the locked greenhouses?
That would be Albert, Mr. Dunn's son. Yes, Albert keeps all the keys, and one can only imagine why.
What do you mean?
Well, he was never interested in Kew Gardens before, and now all of a sudden he is trying to act as if he owns the place. I think he wants to take over the management here. He'd do better to leave that to me. He has no experience. No, none at all.
Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation.
Interesting.
Can I help you, gentlemen?
Yes, you have keys that I want. Pardon me. Ah, shaving cut. Know those well. So,
Who is Miss Margaret White?
Ah, she is the young lady who studies with me. She visits here sometimes to help out with the greenhouses. In fact, she should be here today. She wanted to work at the seed house. That's the small greenhouse across from the large glass house.
Do you work here?
Yes, but part-time only, for I'm also studying botany at the University of London.
You're following in your father's footsteps, then. That is commendable.
Well, even if botany is not my strongest suit, there are people who say that I could be a good manager.
yeah, Hamish is not one of them.
Would you please tell us about Martin Hamish, the deputy director?
Well, I have to tell you that Mr. Hamish is not and has never been the deputy director of Kew Gardens. My father would not have tolerated it.
Indeed? That is most interesting. He told us that he was.
Yes, because he believes that the management should be passed down to him now that my father is dead. But in actual fact, Mr. Hamish only has the honour of being the garden's longest-serving employee. In fact, if we are to think logically at all, it should be me who takes over the management of Kew Gardens.
Do you not have a good relationship with Mr. Hamish?
I suppose so. But we have very little in common. Mr. Hamish loves his plants and Kew Gardens, and I cannot say that I share his passion.
I see. And how
Yet
was
you're
his
studying
relationship
botany.
with your father?
Oh, he hated my father. It was obvious. He would be furious whenever my father boasted of Kew Gardens in the newspapers or at conferences. He was convinced that my father was stealing all of the credit for himself. But my father treated Mr. Hamish in the same way as he treated anyone, dismissively, with indifference.
But he was actually trying to, because as per a letter that we saw.
I imagine that your relationship with your father may have been a strained one.
Yes. I cannot say that he was a kind man, for he never listened to me at all. He forced me to work here. But now, after his death, I've been pondering it over. Perhaps he wasn't so wrong about me after all. I have to follow his path, and I have to manage Kew Gardens, and I can do it. I can be as good as any other who works here.
We noticed that a part of the colonial collection has been cleared.
Ah. At the moment, I'm just dealing with the storage room. I don't know much about the other rooms.
You got keys?
Do you hold the keys to all of these locked doors?
Yes, you can have them. But I cannot give you the keys to the cloakroom. The employees' effects are private. I am sure you understand.
Of course.
Thank you, young man. We shall see you again soon.
Let's pull this out here. Okay. Where did he say this white was gonna mean? Seeds. Let's find the seed house.
Look, Holmes, this charming lady must be Miss White. She's entering the seed house.
Indeed. That answers that question.
Nursery. The seeds of plant species are stored here.
Interesting.
It is a bust of Montague Dunn. I am curious if the marble that we found will fit this place. Here it is.
Ah.
The marble fragment that we found in the Colonial Collection Room is what they have in common.
Interesting.
A glasses case. It is empty. A thesis written by Martin Hamish. This area serves as Martin Hamish's office.
Excellent. Yeah.
We can see the interior of the Colonial Collection Room from this window. This poster is for an exhibition that Martin Hamish was directing, but it had nothing to do with Kew Gardens. This certificate belongs to Martin Hamish. He won a horticultural competition.
Watson.
What should we do next, Holmes?
Well, I'm gonna go and find this Miss White.
Locked.
No, it's not anymore. Where's the seed house gone? Aha! That's the nursery. Seed house.
Open.
There we go. Open. Should have got that forcefully.
Good day to you, miss. You have some very beautiful plants here.
Why, thank you, sir. And good day to you, too. But
Oh, I do beg your pardon. My name is Dr. John Watson. This is my good friend, Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
I am honored to make your acquaintance, gentlemen. My name is Margaret White. Excuse me, but are you Sherlock Holmes, the great detective?
Yes, I am he.
What a pleasure to see you here at Kew Gardens. Are you working on a case?
I'm investigating theft of plants and the murder of your boss. Here. Hate it when I miss something. There we go. Theft of plants.
Yes, a theft of plants that took place here a few days ago after their most recent exhibition.
Oh, yes, of course. I quite forgot about that.
Oh, it's quite understandable that you might forget about the theft of the plants, miss, after the tragedy that took place here.
Yes. The director was a truly good man. It is such a terrible misfortune.
How well did you know Mr. Montague Dunn?
He was a master, a great leader. I saw him almost as a spiritual father.
He had an exceptional nature?
Oh, yes, indeed. He was always so active and so optimistic and very nice to me. Although he could behave harshly towards his son.
Why so?
He loved his son dearly and wanted the very best for him. It made him extremely demanding. Albert, who is naturally shy, suffered because of it.
Do you work here?
Part-time only. I am a biology student at the London University. I attend the same classes as the son of Mr. Montague Dunn. That is how I found my chance to work here for part of my thesis, you see. It is a great honor.
Most of the doors in Kew Gardens are locked. Do you have a key to this room?
Oh, yes. Albert gave me a set of duplicate keys. He agreed I might carry out my studies without disturbing him. It is only temporary.
Would you happen to know why part of the colonial collection was cleared?
No, I have never been there.
Thank you, miss. None of the 3 people who work at Kew Gardens know why half of the colonial collection was cleared. So, someone is lying. It is obvious.
But who? Who would be lying? Alright, I gotta get into the staff buildings. Just gonna run around here a bit. Alright, here we go. I hand down these keys and all that. Ah, the office key. Aha! What do we have here?
There was a bottle here. It left behind a trace of the substance that pervaded the laboratory. Several drops of the substance were spilled. Someone carried this bottle around. Several drops of the substance were spilled. Someone carried this bottle around.
Gold dust? Good heavens. What's it doing here?
The gold is almost immune to chemical attacks, so it may be a valuable auxiliary for various experiments.
But why would anyone perform such experiments in a botanical garden?
The bottle is no longer here, but it is possible to detect a faint scent. We need a good nose.
Ho ho! We're gonna go get poopy. But before we do,
A phonograph used for voice recording. Remarkable.
Yes, this is quite a modern laboratory.
Martin Hamish's perception of plants. The notion of communication in the plant world has long been considered marginal, yet I remain convinced that some plants do indeed transmit chemical signals in the event of attack.
A study report by Martin Hamish.
And it seems clear from these multiple experiments that plants do respond to their environment and have a form of consciousness. Margaret White, February 1895. Report number 245.
Study report. This is a table for experiments. It resembles my own.
Only this one is kept in good order, Holmes.
what we got here? Oh, chemistry cupboard.
Chemicals. A sufficient quantity for some serious experiments. A botany book. This student's book belongs to Albert.
It's gone to Cambridge.
Gloves. Waterproof aprons. Everything one might need for self-protection.
Do they grow dangerous plants here?
You do.
Such masks are generally worn when dealing with toxic chemicals. It appears as though the protective equipment is missing from
I
here.
believe it's the same protective equipment that we found burning in the bonfire.
Locked.
Holmes, Albert Dunn didn't give us the key to this door.
It does not matter. We will open it.
Alright, start. don't get it. What's wrong with this thing? Alright, so saying you, it's just get it lined up.
Open.
Let's have a quick look in Albert's
Albert's
locker.
locker. A picture of Miss White and Albert in front of the University of London.
And they seem to get along.
Specialist articles on shipyards and ship construction. Albert Dunn has a great passion for shipbuilding and the sea. A rejection letter from the British Royal Naval College.
Sir, if British assaults for unable to fight divorce, your father has talked to you as expressed to trust you to the directorship of the Royal Britannic and Kew Gardens. It's clear he will not release you from the entire year of naval training. Wow. Okay. That's
Martin
harsh.
Hamish's locker. Martin Hamish studied chemistry. Interesting.
Just here, we see events unfolding at the Kew Gardens blind to new application for the management position. As I've always stated in my previous letters, I believe that no one is better suited for the post. While Mr. Montague Dunn was alive, I understood your reservation to your suggestion. Your reason was political, and I was happy to comply. But now the Kew Gardens lie in disorder. How can I stand by and allow it? How can I leave them in the hands of an inexperienced person, people with no motivation? I must urge you to cash your decision as a matter of urgency. So I may devote myself entirely to the noble task ahead and free my mind from this uncertainty.
A review on rare and exotic plants. Martin Hamish has written several pieces. Father and I, Kew Gardens.
I'll have that.
Miss White's locker. A draft of the letter that Miss White sent to her parents.
Dear Mother and Father, I am writing this letter with reluctance to ask for your help. My studies and my housing costs have proven to be more expensive than anticipated. I fear, therefore, I may not be able to manage in the long term. I know that we have had disagreements in the past, but would you be so heartless as to allow your daughter to fail her studies due to lack of money?
Apparently, Miss White is a capable student. These jewels must be worth a small fortune. A vanity purse. It is of high quality.
We were surprised with your letter. How could you think to ask us for money after all these years have passed since you left without any thought of us? You have never shared any of your success at university, but chose to do so now. We suppose you must be ashamed of us. We are not from the same high class as your new friends. Yes, we are modest people, and you should learn to put your family first at home, as we have always done. And none of us have ever compromised the reputation, as it appears you have already with your employer, Mr. Dunn. No, Margaret, it is you who makes us feel ashamed. Dear Margaret, I know how your financial troubles are overwhelming you at this present time. Please let me assure you that I could not permit you to remain in such a dilemma. I was born of a wealthy family. I would consider it an honour if you might accept my help. Your devoted servant, Albert. Wow. So... Miss White, it seems, had an enormous amount of financial trouble.
The employee's cloakroom.
Okay. Oh, I know, hang on. Oh yeah, there's another door here. My.
Newspapers discussing Kew Gardens.
Kew Gardens are pleased to announce the introduction of the new variety of barley. One that retains a complete resistance to the cold. They have named it the Siberian barley. Mr. Hart and Hamish, the proud co-writer of the graph, will hold a press conference next. Interesting. Another letter. My dearest Margaret, following our last conversation, I believe it might be better if you vacate your position here at Kew Gardens. As you pointed out quite bluntly, you are no longer in need of my support. You are quite able to stand up for yourself in this world, as you say. Well, I give you back your freedom and wish you nothing but good luck. Huh.
A photograph of Montague Dunn and Reynold Hamish.
Ah. Alright, don't go that far. Ah. So start from the middle. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then we go all the way around. What an intriguing lock. More letters. Mr. Dunn, we must ask you for the last time for the return of our dear sisters. You do not have any right to hold them in prison. They do not belong to you. Your so-called permissions are wholly false. You're hiding behind lies. The lie that we need to elaborate that was reported in the press as the case of June 14th, 1889. What you have done is quite abhorrent. Be very sure that you shall never abandon our family members. We trusted you and regret having done so. Interesting. My dearest friend, please allow me to express my disappointment upon reading your last letter. I am paying you to defend me, not to accuse me. Kew Gardens is a royal institution. We have granted a great opportunity to travel the world and save the most extraordinary, precious, and rare species of plant. Our duty to protect such species from those whom you might wish to use them for dubious purpose. This divine syndicate of whom you speak have no right to hold such precious plants. Remember the case of June 14th, 1889. So I must just be asked that you once again notarize the permissions on these plants on behalf of Kew Gardens. Documents were sent to you on Monday. PS, see you in Boodles on Tuesday, as always. What was he up to? Another letter.
I suggest that we don't tell Miss Margaret White about this document.
Debt of Miss Margaret Wright to Mr. Dunn. Rental of a suite of rooms, Oxford Street, Education credits open at Hamilton, Radigan House Tailors, and Baird Luxury Jewelers. Margaret's studies and associations were completely dependent upon Montague Dunn's wealth. Miss White and Mr. Dunn had a decent disagreement. Montague Dunn was planning to release Miss White from her position at Kew Gardens. I need to talk to you. Okay. See if we get any more information out of him. Albert Dunn.
What is your opinion of Albert as a student of botany?
He's useless. I often tell him so, and I can only give him cleaning tasks. Botany is not his life's work, and his father well knew it. He was furious about it.
He was?
Oh yes. He forced his son to work here, and he never missed an opportunity to criticize him publicly.
Are you able to elaborate on that?
Well, for example, with our last exhibition here, Mr. Dunn had Albert make a presentation speech. But then, while the lad was speaking, Mr. Dunn interrupted him, asking him difficult questions, making him look like a failure. It was with the intention of making a fool of him, Mr. Holmes.
That must have been terribly humiliating.
Yes, he was crushed, and he had to leave. Everybody was making fun of poor Albert. That is, except for Miss Margaret White, who is such a nice lady and who always takes pity on Albert.
You mentioned a Miss White. Would you tell us more about her?
She is a student who works here part-time. She is quite charming indeed. She possesses a great talent for botany. You should take a look at some of her experiments that she carried out in the laboratory. Ah, if only she were not so naive.
Why naive?
The way she used to flutter around Mr. Montague Dunn. And he couldn't help but be flattered by all her attention. How could an intelligent woman such as Miss White not see through his game? I can only scratch my head and wonder.
She did.
Mr. Hamish, was someone from your family connected with Kew Gardens?
Family? No. I'm the only one with a passion for botany.
I do not think so. This photograph of you and your father at Kew Gardens suggests the opposite.
But you have a right to...
Do tell us more about your father.
He was, indeed, the greatest botanist of his time in the British Empire. He worked together with Montague Dunn until the end of his life. He brought me in at the age of 12.
Did he get on well with Mr. Dunn?
No, I couldn't say that. They expanded Kew Gardens together, that was all. And it was all my father's work, for Dunn always lived the high life.
So Mr. Dunn was not helping your father?
Oh, yes, he provided the financial support. And as far as he was concerned, that fulfilled his role. But the worst of it was, he declared himself as the master of Kew Gardens. Fame meant nothing to my father, so it was easy for Mr. Dunn to take all the credit.
There is a bust of Montague Dunn in the nursery.
A bust? Oh, that old thing. Further proof of that outrageous ego of his.
But why in that room in particular?
Oh, I don't know. It has always been there.
It is strange, because I recovered a fragment of the bust inside the Colonial Collection Room.
Really? Oh, well, so I am mistaken. It ought to have been removed during the cleanup. This room is so small.
Do you know who moved it?
I have no idea. Surely Mr. Dunn requested it. Do you have any more questions like this? Because fragments of rock are not my responsibility.
Evidently. Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation.
Alright, let's go find... Aha! There he is. Albert, we need to have a chat, my young man. Come here, my good sir.
I perceive that you are passionate about the Royal Navy.
Passionate? No, not really. I like ships, that is all.
Are you quite sure? You do not seem to be so interested in plants.
It's difficult, that's all. My future is here. It has never been about anything else.
And yet I know that the Royal Naval College rejected your application.
Ah, you truly are as clever as they say. Yes, that's correct. And in fact, my father was strongly against the idea. He did his best to ruin my plans, although I almost did succeed. But my dreams were shattered, Mr. Holmes.
Thank you, young man. We shall see you again soon.
Albert had a motive to kill his father, Montague Dunn. Dunn had thwarted Albert's dream of joining the Navy. By killing his father, Albert could have his revenge and eventually succeed in his father's place as director of Kew Gardens. Martin Hamish had a motive. He believed that he and his father's lives had been ruined by Dunn, who had taken the credit for all their work. Hamish wished to take over the new directorship of Kew Gardens, but he knew that would not be possible with Dunn still alive. I think we need to have another chat with Miss White. This place is complicated. There we go. Ah, you're still in here, Miss
Kew
White.
Gardens is such an exciting place. Wouldn't you agree?
Alright, so I've got nothing more to say to you. Alright. Let's go get Toby. Let's go follow this scent. Do. Toby! Come here, my good little...
Come on, Toby. We have some work for you to do. Let us go to Kew Gardens.
I love how sinister he said that. Let's go to Kew Gardens. Toby, come here. Ah, no, Toby just sat there because he's such a good boy. Yes, he is.
Let us take Toby to the laboratory. He will pick up the scent of this mysterious substance. Search, Toby. Search.
Okay. I love being Toby. Toby Vision!
Congratulations, Toby. Now let us see what you have found. This is the bottle that was used in the laboratory. It was buried here. There is still some liquid remaining in the bottle, with gold flakes. A tiny caterpillar. Not surprising to see one in a garden, but at the bottom of a bottle.
Alright, do I need to speak to you?
Just be careful with the plants during your inspection.
What have we got to do? Got to find out what that is. Get all of these. Alright. Back to Baker Street. Let's go and look at this archive. Alright, let's get investigating. Rare plants. Chemistry, poisons and toxins. Martial arts, marks and symbols. Science, technology, history, medicine, botany. There we go. These plants are for certain toxicity in common, more or less variable. There they are. Only the first three can be dangerous to humans, particularly Florum diabolica, but only under very specific conditions. The plant should relate to a process of aggression, against which it will issue deadly spores.
Here it is.
Both of which Miss White the killers may be those who stole the toxic plants from the last exhibition in Kew Gardens. Alright. Chemistry, poison, toxins, injurious, criminalistics, martial arts, marks and symbols. There it is. Members of the Syndicate worship Traywan, the God King. They strive to obtain spiritual peace and release themselves from the material world. So generous donations are appreciated.
Here it is.
Release ourselves from the material. Please give us money.
The Divine Syndicate is not a supplier to Kew Gardens. Besides, there is no address here.
That's alright. Symbol on the flower pots found in the Kew Gardens. London Garden Supplies. Premium supplier for all landscape gardening timber requirements. Full range supply and delivery of sand, soils, mortars, pots, and anything else you need.
Here it is.
Scan to the Divine Syndicate. Divine Syndicate Club follows the Cloud Green Twilight situation in 48 Grosvenor Street, Carlton Road. Protector of plants and more particularly trees are currently subject to administrative investigation. Leaders of this organisation are subject to financial malfeasance. Maybe that this investigation will lead to charges of judiciary. Meanwhile, many voices have risen high against the creation in the state. In fact, this private organisation, which has given its goals the defence and protection nature, which incorporates many persons of influence, including political representatives of the opposition party.
Here it is. And here is the Divine Syndicate's address. Perfect. It is time to find out what they have against Montague Dunn.
Indeed. But first, let us find out what this unknown liquid is.
Let us determine just what we have found here. Let us pour liquid from the bottle into a test tube to perform an analysis. a colorless, water-based liquid. Quite a strong floral aroma.
Holmes? What are you doing?
It has a bitter taste.
What if it's poisonous?
Did you ever see poison stored in enormous jars like that? Anyway, there is a doctor nearby.
So what do you think it is?
It is some kind of organic compound. Let us vaporize the liquid and see what happens. Small colorless crystals. Colorless, tiny crystals that are soluble in water, with a floral smell and a bitter taste. Watson, could you pass me that small bottle, please?
Of course. Here you are. Holmes, do you know what it is?
Wagner's reagent. There was a label on the bottle that you passed to me.
No, Holmes, I meant the bottle that we found.
Let me add the reagent and see if there is any sediment, and then I shall tell you. I need to take a pipette and make several drops of the reagent. Red sediment, just as I suspected. This liquid is of organic origin. It contains some alkaloid. Most likely it is unstable, and that is why there is a quantity of gold dust to prevent contamination. This mixture is probably a fertilizer. Someone was carrying out unusual experiments in the garden's laboratory.
But who? Who? Let's go have a little chat with the Divine Syndicate, shall we? So I don't think these go together at all, do they? No. Okay.
This place is beautiful, Holmes. Its atmosphere is remarkably soothing.
Let us find someone who could help us.
Let's go chat to this guy up here.
Good day to you, sir. My name is Sherlock.
I am exalting the sap. A while can you wait? From the trace of elements and moreover from the quality of the ambient geotropism it depends. Therefore, please, mind my gravitropism. Its balance, do not disturb.
Disturbed is most definitely the word.
There. Completed is the symbiosis. Welcomed you are. To introduce myself, I shall. I am the
Sounds like
Green
Yoda.
Grand Mystic.
The Green Grand Mystic himself.
This is me. Who am I speaking to?
We are two gentlemen who are extremely interested in the vegetation philosophy that is advocated by this establishment.
Listening to you, I am.
We should like to take a look around, to immerse ourselves in the wisdom that emanates from here.
It is a school of anastomosis, the divine scholastic syndicate for vegetation veneration and meditation. You may say, the divine syndicate, glory to the eukaryotic. Only true devotees, those whose hearts are ready to spermatophize in sharing of knowledge,
are permitted to physically enter our vegetable kingdom and its wisdom. And to be permitted, you must earn it. Yes.
Green Grand Mystic, we are ready to become devotees and gain access to your temple.
What is the name of our Lord, our God King?
Our God King's name is Trewan, Green Grand Mystic.
Oh la, good, I like you. Here is the holy key to the wisdom place. Holy donation can you make whenever you so wish.
Thank you so much.
I pray you to taste our fertilizer substance. From the burdens of life it helps to free.
But of course.
Raw sap, it is called. It is near the entrance.
We visited Kew Gardens, and we found your symbols on their flower pots.
Coincidence, I am thinking. They would scavenge our refuse. It would not surprise me.
It was merely an observation.
Interesting.
Well, we will leave you to your meditation. The Kew Gardens symbol.
Why would they have their pots?
Fragments of a flower pot. It fell down here. A fragment of a flower pot.
Osmosis and photosynthesis.
Okay. Good to know.
That should be the raw sap that the Green Grand Mystic spoke of. This is rather delicious and of an excellent quality.
My word, Holmes. Their sap is like a form of cocaine.
They're all completely high. Which I guess is not a surprise.
This door is locked, but I can try to open it.
Indeed. to... Got it. Hey-ho-ho! Ooh. Now what is in here?
A vast amount of opium.
They're all just...
These instruments are used for smoking opium. That would be enough to perform the most difficult of chemical experiments.
Ah.
This substance is an alkaloid, the same as in the bottle we found in the bushes at Kew Gardens. This cabinet is full of chemicals. They are the same as the ones we found in the laboratory at Kew Gardens.
Let us go see what's in this door. Ah!
A tropical plant, nothing of interest. A tropical plant, nothing of interest. These 3 plants are identical to the ones shown at the exhibition. I shall take them.
I'm just going to put them in my pocket. As you do. Set up the alkaloid from a chemical laboratory in the caterpillars and perform the experiment with the deadly plants. Great. Yeah, it's just... you know, experiment with deadly plants that I'm now just wandering around in my pocket. Sure, why not?
A tropical plant, nothing of interest. A tropical plant, nothing of interest. This must be Triwan, the Divine Syndicate's god.
I've got everything. Hiding opium, basically. They make a shed ton of drugs. Let's go chat. Well.
The list of plant friends and benefactors, lawyers, well-known manufacturers, political leaders.
A chat to our friend. Basically, you're all a bunch of druggies, aren't you? Let's just be honest.
Do you have friends at Kew Gardens?
None. Not worthy there.
Oops. Select the correct dance. Damn it, I got too trigger happy.
Do you have...
None. Not worthy there.
Nevertheless, we have seen Kew Gardens flower pots in your yard. How could they happen to be there?
What? Our sacred place you permitted yourself to search. Sacrilege.
No, really now. There was a theft of plants at Kew Gardens a matter of days ago, and we believe the pots we found here may be connected with it. Please tell us, were you involved?
No. Those plants were ours. They had stolen them from us.
How so?
Their director, Dump, I believe.
Done.
Yes, that's what I said. He borrowed from us 3 of our sisters for the exhibition at his green-fly-infested gardens. But he never gave them back to us. Excuses and imbecility. So we went in and saved them.
I see. So, if you stole those rare plants from them, then it means... Ah, I get it. Bravo, Holmes. I think the case is solved.
No, we did not steal. We saved. Well, as a matter of fact, we were unable to find our 3 plants.
I beg your pardon. And yet, you took all of the exotic plants from the stand.
They had disappeared. It was the least we could do. They stole our sisters, and so we stole theirs.
Well, we will leave you to your meditation.
Alright, what we got? The divine suggests that all plants in the exhibition, including the deadly species, they could have used them in order to murder Montague Dunn. Yeah, I don't think they're involved in this. Let's go set up an experiment. But then again, I've been wrong before. Twice, in fact. That was my horse noise. Believe it or not. Alright, let's go and pour chemical stuff.
According to the deadly plants information, in order to perform our experiment, we will need fertilizer and food. Caterpillars should do nicely.
Let's go back to Kew Gardens and see if we can find caterpillars.
Are you aware of the Divine Syndicate?
The Divine what? Is this a joke?
No, I am quite serious.
What a ridiculous name. Anyway, I have never heard of this syndicate.
Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation.
Maybe I'll just go into their laboratory. No, that's his office. Alright, maybe not.
These young plants must be delicate if they are kept in the nursery.
Let's have a look at these bad boys.
A master's degree diploma. It belongs to Martin Hamish. An award presented to Martin Hamish for Best Grower of the Year. The Divine Syndicate. Does that name mean anything to you, by any chance?
Not at all. But it is a very pretty name.
Thank you, miss.
Right, where am I supposed to find... fertilizer? What's it I'm looking for again?
Tell me, have you ever heard of the Divine Syndicate?
No, I cannot say that I have.
Thank you, young man. We shall see you again soon.
Da-da.
According to the deadly plants information, in order to perform our experiment, we will need fertilizer and food. Caterpillars should do nicely.
Alright, let's see if the Divine Syndicate have got what I need. It's getting warm in here. It is warm. Very warm. Alright, we're back in here. So, let's go find what I need.
These instruments are used for smoking opium.
Osmosis and photos.
Aha!
Caterpillars. They are raised as food for certain plants. Let's take them. Perfect, Watson. We can begin our experiment.
Got him.
Osmosis and photosynthesis.
There we go. Got everything I need. I knew I forgot something. I forgot something. I forgot the caterpillars. I am gonna go and ask what he's doing.
This green grand mystic fellow seems rather suspicious, Holmes.
Not as suspicious as
What should
we're
we do
doing
next, Holmes?
now. Here we go.
I imagine that one of these plants would be capable of releasing a toxic vapor. I need to find out exactly how it could be done. I shall begin now. Watson, if you are at all optimistic to have dinner this evening, then I'd recommend that you put on the gas mask. How interesting. What a strong and effective defensive mechanism. I find the behavior of predators utterly fascinating. This plant seems to have had no reaction from the caterpillars. This plant becomes inactive after being drenched with alkaloid. This plant becomes inactive after being drenched with alkaloid. It appears to open after being soaked with alkaloid. This plant seems to have had no reaction from the caterpillars. Toxic gas with spores. Extraordinary. The plants would be capable of killing only if they were directly next to the victim and stimulated at precisely the right moment.
Let us take our caterpillars to the Colonial Collection Room. We may see things more clearly there.
It is too early, Watson. Our suspects will be there. Let us investigate Kew Gardens one more time and ask some questions.
She does. She absolutely does, and because we heard it on the thing. She has the correct ones. Hey, Buffet. She has the correct one. No, that's. I don't think it's that Albert wouldn't have known how to do it. Yeah, gonna go with that one. I don't think the sex involved. Aha. White killed Dunn. No. No, I don't think so. Something's not right. You're on the train disappearance part? Nice. Well, they've all been pretty fun to do, actually. How are you getting on with... Have you checked to see whether you've got any of your conclusions right yet? Because I've checked each one of mine and I've condemned 2 innocent people.
180!
Thank you very much for that follow. Again, awesome. Alright. What am I doing here? It's Dr. Hamish again. Mr. Hamish.
Can you tell me if you saw Mr. Montague Dunn on the day of his death?
Yes, of course. I met him, and we went to see Albert, his son, at around 9:30. He appeared quite calm.
Your activity that morning? And thank
What
you very
were
much
you
for the
doing
host.
on the morning of the accident?
After paying multiple visits to Albert, I had a little talk with Miss White. Then I returned to my desk to complete some paperwork. Suddenly, I observed that Mr. Dunn was not feeling well, so I ran immediately to fetch Albert. I clearly remember that it was around 10:30, for I was late that morning.
Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation.
Right, what am I doing now? Talk to all the suspects. Right, where's Albert? Oh, there he is.
Your father's death does seem highly suspicious. What were your movements here on that day?
Suspicious? Well, I was working in the seed house, taking care of something, or Lear Pontus, or... No, wait. These Latin names. And I spent so many hours trying to memorize them.
Did you see your father that day?
Yes. He came here with Mr. Hamish for his weekly visit. There was nothing unusual about that.
And then?
Nothing. They stepped out to the backyard. It was perhaps 20 minutes before 10 o'clock. Then about 10 minutes later, I saw my father heading for the dry tropics room while Mr. Hamish returned here.
And Mr.
I am on
Hamish and
Xbox,
Miss
yes.
White, what were they both doing that morning?
Mr. Hamish visited me a couple of times. I also saw him returning from talking with Miss White, and that was at 10 minutes past 10. But then he ran back here to me to tell me that my father was feeling unwell. We hurried across to the water lily room, and I found my father lying dead on the floor. Oh my God.
Thank you, young man. We shall see you again soon.
We shall see you soon. Right, let's go talk to Mrs. White. Username's 170 out. On 170 out on pretty much everything.
Can you tell me what Mr. Dunn was doing upon the day of his death?
I can. But there is nothing very special to say. I was in the laboratory when I saw Mr. Dunn heading towards me. Tuesday is the day of his weekly visit. It was supposed to be at 9, but he was 10 minutes late, as usual.
And then?
Well, he came in to say good morning. Then I saw him spend 2 or 3 minutes by the plants outside the laboratory. After that, he ran out in the direction of the nursery, where Mr. Hamish was working. He was always in a rush during the inspection, you see. I would pity anyone who stood in his way.
And that was the last time you saw him?
Yes.
It's as spelt.
I stayed in the laboratory until 20 minutes to 11.
Spelt with
When
words.
I heard the cries of Albert and Mr. Hamish from the large glass house. I joined them as soon as I could, for I knew that something must be very wrong.
What exactly were you doing in the laboratory?
I was recording an experiment for my thesis. I only stopped my work once when Mr. Hamish visited me briefly around 10 o'clock.
You say you were recording an experiment when the tragedy occurred. Might I listen to the roll?
Certainly. Please do. You will find it in the laboratory. It is number 320.
Interesting.
Thank you, miss.
Everyone has gone, Holmes. The way is clear.
No, it's all words, so there's no letters. Sorry, I'm just trying to concentrate. So he inhaled the spores. Tried to escape the room. Oh, Sparky is
When Montague Dunn was standing close by the plants, the caterpillars were released and caused the deadly spores to activate. Panicking, and likely already half asphyxiated, Montague Dunn started back and knocked over the bust. He rushed to the door, but it was locked. He had to force it open with his shoulder. We already know the outcome. Montague Dunn collapsed and died not far from the pool. Well, it is time to perform our experiment on the ventilation system.
yeah. ONESEVENTYOUT. Right, now I've got to go and try and find the ventilation system again. Where is the ventilation system? Aha, this way. There you go. Alright, resume.
First of all, I need to visit the Colonial Collection Room to see how those caterpillars dropped onto the deadly plants.
What? I've just come all this way. No, I'm not joining a party, mate. I'm streaming. So. Where am I going? I've just gone the wrong way. Oh no, this is where I want to go. Do 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 do. Da da da. Ba da ba ba da ba 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 da ba ba. Do 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 do.
The caterpillars could only fall from the ventilation duct. Our caterpillars are in place. I'll activate the ventilation system so that they fall down. Watson, stay here and observe.
All
No,
right,
this
Holmes.
is all single player. It's purely a single player game. There is no multiplayer with this one.
Before starting the engine, I need to enable the power supply.
Yeah, that I did too.
The power is on. The engine cannot be started whilst the transmission is active. The engine has started. The power is on. The ventilation system is working.
Alright, so let's follow the ventilation. So we're going to here.
From here, we are unable to see the interior of the Colonial Collection Room. Excellent. This ventilation fan is working. Let us see if I can activate the other one.
Alright, so that's gone out. And it's gone in there. Where's it gone? Oh, there we go. Up and round there.
We can see the interior of the Colonial Collection Room from this window.
I got quite a few. I'm not usually online that much outside of streaming, and when I am, I'm kind of just working on achievements. I occasionally do community games, so if you're ever online and I'm doing one of those, you are free to join.
Perfect. Now I just need to find Watson to check the result.
It works perfectly, Holmes. Bravo. Now, if you could just help me to get rid of these caterpillars.
Perfect. Now we know how the murder of Montague Dunn was carried out, by activating both Albert's and Mr. Hamish's fans.
But only from Mr. Hamish's workplace would it be possible to see when Montague Dunn entered the Colonial Collection Room.
Martin Hamish had the opportunity to stimulate the deadly plants of the Colonial Collection Room. As a biologist, he would have understood the technicality of how to do this. Let's go with that one. Martin Hamish could be the killer. He had the opportunity to steal the Divine Syndicate's plans, stimulate them from his workplace directly after he had locked Montague Dunn inside the Colonial Collection Room. I don't have any WWE games. Effect the arrest of Martin Hamish.
Let's go to Scotland Yard.
Let's go. Oh. Lestrade.
Inspector, I believe that Martin Hamish is guilty of the murder of Montague Dunn.
Aha! I knew it. I'll send the lads around to arrest him.
Very good. I shall wait to hear from you.
No, I am not Australian now. I am British. English. My accent is a weird amalgamation of things because I spent a lot of time in Germany when I was younger, and then I moved around various parts of England and I just picked up different accents. I think Australian is an accent that I certainly can't do. What about yourself?
Inspector, I came here as quickly as I could.
Martin Hamish is in the large glass house. There's no need to hurry.
Holmes, my God!
Yes, we found him like that.
Oh, you
Our
are
messing around with the
nice.
ventilation system didn't go unnoticed. Mr. Hamish realized that we knew.
Inspector, could you arrange the body, please? I should like to examine it.
Holmes, his left shoe is unique. This anomaly is often a characteristic of...
A club foot. Bravo, Watson. That is the key element of this case. The mark around the neck is very visible. He died instantly.
Life has become a living hell. I find it unbearable. Dunn deserved to die, but I cannot forgive myself for having his blood on my hands. We Hamish just seem to have always fallen victim to our circumstance, and I find myself to be no exception. I must atone, and I shall do so here and now. Farewell. Martin Hamish is unable to run due to the tibial torsion on his clubfoot. Therefore, we should find out if he has sufficient time to unlock the door of the Colonial Collection Room and activate the ventilation system. Did he have an accomplice? Discuss with Lestrade the possible impact of new clues found on the body of Martin Hamish. Alright, Lestrade. Oh, you're right there.
Something about this rings very oddly.
Why do you say that, Mr. Holmes?
Why? Because of Mr. Hamish's club foot. Oh, I deserve to be kicked from here to Charing Cross. I should have noticed it.
But, Mr. Holmes, I can't see why...
No, I don't think
No, I don't suppose you do. You must recall that Mr. Dunn was locked inside the Colonial Collection Room by the murderer. If it was Mr. Hamish, he would have had to run up to his workplace to trigger the fan situated above it, taking into consideration the condition of his foot.
Well, it is still possible.
Perhaps, but it is rather strange that such a person as Mr. Hamish decided to base his plan on the speed of his gait.
You mean to say that somebody helped him?
So the suicide is questionable?
Correct. Mr. Hamish accuses only himself in his letter, and so the investigation stops.
Possibly an accomplice, then? That idea had not occurred to me, Mr. Holmes.
I have another idea, Inspector. Thanks to the testimony that we have collected, we are able to rebuild the events as they took place that day.
With a timeline, such as we did in the Jack the Ripper case.
Precisely.
The map at the entrance of Kew Gardens should help us with our timeline.
Alright.
Let us analyze the facts and statements so that we may recreate the events of that morning.
Alright, 9:30. Martin Hamish must have done went to meet Albert in the Seed House at around 9:30. Poisoned. Talking to Miss White. Okay, that looks fine. Around 20 minutes to 10 when Hamish and Montague Dunn went out to the backyard. Hamish and Montague Dunn go to the backyard. Okay, so far so good. After 10 minutes done, recommenced his inspection and entered the dry topics. He's in the dry topics room. Hamish returns to the Seed House. Martin Hamish had a conversation with Miss White at 10 o'clock. Hamish and Albert in the water grilly. Greenhouse at 10:40. Hamish ran to Albert. Minutes past 10. Okay. Alright, see what we got.
Let us summarize. Montague Dunn was poisoned inside the Colonial Collection Room. He forced open the door, which means that someone locked him inside there at 10:20. Martin Hamish was last seen at 10:10. This means that he has approximately 10 minutes to lock the door of the Colonial Collection Room. Given that he was club-footed, it is doubtful. Albert also has 10 minutes to lock the door of the Colonial Collection Room, which is quite enough time. Miss White was last seen at 10 o'clock, which means that she had approximately 20 minutes to lock the door. More than enough time. Perfect, Watson. Now, let us ascertain who assisted Martin Hamish in killing Montague Dunn.
She could have locked the door. Albert had time. Both of them had time. Narcombe didn't like Albert without opportunity. Might have been enough, just... White is an accomplice. Going with that. And we're going to condemn her. Alright, here we go. Fyodor Dostoevsky.
But Holmes, how can you be certain that we'll find Miss White here?
It is obvious, Watson. Just use your brain.
I am using it. I do use it.
Now that the rope has tightened around Martin Hamish, Miss White must act to erase all traces of her implication. After the suicide of her accomplice, there is one final trace remaining: the deadly plants of the Divine Syndicate. She will be there.
Very good. Shall we go?
Just one moment. Now listen to me, Watson. I shall see her alone. You will conceal yourself behind her, quietly.
Whatever are you planning?
Nothing spectacular. The impulses of women have always been a mystery to me. But she is a bold one, and so we must be cautious.
All right. You can count on me, Holmes.
Indeed I can. Watson. I'm gonna need to.
Mr. Holmes, good day to you.
You do not seem surprised, Miss White.
Well, I was expecting you.
Not for too long, I believe. So please tell me, as it is still unclear, who planned the murder? Was it you?
You were wrong, Mr. Holmes.
It was Martin Hamish, then. You managed to convince him to take on a more prominent role.
You could not be further from the truth.
You think that you can fool me?
You don't care what I think.
It is difficult to care about someone who is capable of pushing a man to his suicide. It is over, Miss White. The police will be here any minute.
Over, perhaps. One moment you were here, and the next, you were on the other side.
The other side? No! Stop!
Wait, what?
I beg you not to do this, Miss White.
Don't come any closer.
Please remain calm. We can help you.
Not one step further. Don't try to stop me.
Stop this foolishness. You cannot truly want to die.
No, it's too late.
No!
This is tragic, Holmes.
Damn it! I wasn't quick enough.
Are you able to do anything?
I'm afraid not. The poison has been fulgurating. Her heart stopped instantly, poor child.
Hey, got it right. Severe judge. Damn it. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Up, got an achievement. Well, I've got to replay it anyway to get all of the... Oh, hello, it's got an achievement for something. An omnivorous reader. Receive 3 messages from those whom you have condemned or absolved. Oh. Sweet.
Where are you going?
But we shall do that case at a later time. Thank you much everyone for tuning in. I will be back tomorrow, 6 o'clock. World of Hardcore for the first one this year. We won't count the one I tried to do the new year because that was horrendously bad. And then from 8 till 9:30, Hard Dance Hump Day show, which most definitely will be the first one of the year. So I'll see you guys then. You guys take care. I love you all. Bye bye.